Welcome to Zoe Stories. My teacher caught me in panties. Now I'm her special assistant. I was 18, a quiet, somewhat awkward guy who mostly faded into the background. My grades were decent, my social life non-existent, and my only solace was my little private collection of feminine lingerie I sometimes tried on when I was alone. It wasn't something I shared with anyone, least of all my peers. That afternoon, I had stayed behind in the school library to finish an assignment. The room was quiet, sunlight filtering through tall windows, dust motes dancing lazily in the air. Feeling lonely and curious, I slipped into a pair of delicate panties I had tucked into my backpack, wanting to experience the soft fabric against my skin. I didn't hear her at first. Mrs. Caldwell, my strict but mysteriously magnetic teacher, had come in quietly. "Ryan," she said, voice sharp and low, startling me. "What are you doing?" I froze. My heart hammered, blood rushing to my face. The truth was undeniable. She had caught me. Caught me in panties. My private fantasy exposed in the harsh fluorescent light of reality. "Mrs. Caldwell, I can explain." I stammered, fumbling to pull the underwear back down, my entire body trembling. She crossed her arms, expression unreadable. "I think I understand," she said, almost softly, almost cruelly. "You like this, don't you?" I swallowed, words failing me. She knew. She could make my life a nightmare, or something else entirely. Her eyes softened just enough to confuse me. "If you're willing," she whispered, stepping closer, "I could help you explore this side of you. Properly. But it won't be simple. You'll have to do exactly as I say." My mind reeled. Humiliation and fear battled against a secret desire I had always buried. Could I trust her? Could I surrender to her control? "Yes," I whispered, almost automatically. She smiled, a mix of dominance and seduction. "Good. Then from now on you'll be my special assistant. And that means dressing, acting, and living as a girl, at least in my eyes." The first moments after that conversation were a blur. I felt an odd mixture of terror and exhilaration. My body, still humming with embarrassment, now had a purpose, a new structure. She would guide me, mold me, shape me, and I couldn't resist. Her rules were strict. No shortcuts, no resistance, no hiding. Each day, each hour, would demand more of me. My life, my identity, my sense of self, all would be challenged, teased, transformed. I glanced down at myself once more, the panties clinging uncomfortably, my pulse wild. Could I become what she wanted? Could I survive and even thrive as her special assistant? The next morning, I arrived at the classroom early, the heavy scent of books and polished wood mixing with a strange tension in the air. Mrs. Caldwell stood by her desk, a small, neatly wrapped package in her hands. "Good morning, Ryan," she said, her voice calm yet commanding. "Today we begin properly. You'll learn how to present yourself as a girl. Are you ready?" My heart pounded. I think so," I murmured, my throat dry. She set the package down. "Inside, you'll find clothes, makeup, and accessories. You'll wear them under my guidance. No shortcuts. No hesitation." I swallowed, hands trembling. Lifting the lid, I found delicate lace panties, a soft skirt, a blouse, tights, and a simple bra. Next to it, an array of makeup, foundation, blush, eyeshadow, mascara, and lipstick. Every item seemed to mock my embarrassment and promise a new, terrifying thrill. She guided me to the corner of the room where a full-length mirror stood. "Step 1, change," she said. "Step 2, posture. Step 3, face your reflection." I undressed with shaking hands, feeling every inch of vulnerability. The lingerie slipped over my skin, soft yet humiliatingly foreign. The skirt brushed against my thighs, and the blouse felt delicate, almost fragile. I caught my own reflection. A boy, yes, but one beginning to be framed in feminine lines. Mrs. Caldwell stepped close, brushing my shoulder lightly. "Relax. Let yourself feel, but also remember, Every movement, every glance, every breath will be judged. By me, by yourself, and eventually by everyone else. Makeup was the hardest. Each stroke of foundation, each dab of blush, each line of eyeliner forced me to confront a part of myself I had hidden for years. My hands shook, mascara smudged my lashes, lipstick betrayed my nerves. She corrected me, her hands firm and guiding. Careful with your eyes. They are the windows to Clara, or should I say, to your true self. Her words hit me hard. I barely had a name for what I was becoming. Clara, it sounded strange, foreign, and perfect all at once. After the makeup, she adjusted my posture. Stand taller. Walk as she would. Speak as she would. The smallest gesture can betray who you were and who you are now becoming. The first few steps in the heels were painful. My balance faltered. My muscles burned. But with her corrections, I began to move with a tentative elegance. Every glance in the mirror confirmed it. The boy inside me wavered, and something new, delicate, and undeniably feminine was taking over. Hours passed in a haze of practice, correction, and emotional turbulence. Every instruction she gave pulled me further from my old self. Every compliment, every small nod of approval made me crave her guidance and fear her judgment. By the end of the session, my legs ached, my hands trembled, my cheeks burned, but I had survived. More than that, I had glimpsed a version of myself I couldn't deny, couldn't run from, and couldn't entirely control. Mrs. Caldwell watched me, her expression unreadable. Then she whispered, a mix of menace and delight in her voice. Tomorrow, we take Clara out into the real world, and everyone will see her. Do you think you're ready to be watched? My heart skipped a beat. The classroom had been a safe stage, but the outside world promised exposure, judgment, and a thrill I wasn't sure I could resist. Stepping outside, I realized that every eye on me was a test, and I wasn't sure I could pass. The morning sun spilled through the classroom windows as Mrs. Caldwell handed me a small purse. Clara needs to experience the world, she said, and the world will watch her closely. I swallowed, gripping the purse tightly. Every step outside felt surreal. The cool morning air brushed against my exposed legs, reminding me of the skirt and delicate blouse I wore. My heart raced as we approached the busy street. Remember posture, Clara, she instructed softly, yet firmly. Walk as I've taught you. Speak softly but clearly. Smile but not too much. Confidence is invisible until it's noticed. My first steps felt unnatural. The heels dug into my feet, the unfamiliar sway of my hips betrayed my nervousness, and I could feel every passing glance like tiny needles against my skin. At the corner cafe, Mrs. Caldwell guided me inside. The barista's eyes lingered on me longer than necessary, and I felt a heat rising in my chest. I attempted to order coffee, voice quivering as I struggled to maintain Clara's soft, melodic tone. Good, Mrs. Caldwell whispered. You're doing well. Now, maintain it. Every slip will be noticed. I nodded, trembling, trying to ignore the butterflies in my stomach. With each interaction, my embarrassment grew, but so did a strange sense of exhilaration. I was no longer just Ryan hiding in private. I was Clara, fragile yet visible. Walking through a crowded mall later, I felt the weight of every eye. People whispered, glanced, or smiled, and each reaction carved a new layer of identity into me. I stumbled slightly on the escalator, cheeks burning, but Mrs. Caldwell's steady hand and calm gaze reassured me.
You're learning, she said.
Every glance, every comment, every judgment is molding you. Clara is emerging. Her words echoed in my mind, both terrifying and intoxicating. I caught reflections of myself in shop windows, the delicate features, soft curves, painted lips, and long hair framing my face. Each reflection reinforced that the boy I was fading, and Clara was becoming real. By mid-afternoon, we stopped at a boutique. She instructed me to try on a new dress in the fitting room. Alone, I stared at my reflection, fingers tracing the soft fabric, lips parted in disbelief. Is this really me? I whispered. A soft knock on the door startled me. "Clara?" Mrs. Caldwell's voice. "It's time. Step out and show yourself." My pulse raced. I took a deep breath and stepped out. The boutique attendant and a few shoppers stared. My cheeks burned, but I stood taller, heels clicking, makeup flawless. For a fleeting moment, I felt the thrill of being noticed, admired, and undeniably beautiful. Returning home, I collapsed on my bed, trembling. The day had been exhausting, humiliating, and thrilling in ways I hadn't imagined. Clara wasn't just a costume anymore. She was a living, breathing part of me. Mrs. Caldwell's final words of the day echoed. "Tomorrow, we push further. The world will see her and no one, especially you, will know where Ryan ends and Clara begins." That night, as I stared into the mirror, traces of the boy lingered in my reflection, but Clara's eyes stared back, confident, curious, and impossible to ignore. Could I survive the next day, knowing the entire world might see me like this? Everyone was watching, and I realized that hiding was no longer an option. Clara had to stand alone. The invitation had come unexpectedly, a small gathering at a friend of Mrs. Caldwell's house. She told me it was a test, a way to see if Clara could interact socially and maintain composure under scrutiny. I wasn't sure I was ready. Even after the mall outing, the idea of standing among strangers, talking, smiling, and moving like a girl made my stomach twist with anxiety. Mrs. Caldwell, ever composed, helped me into a fitted dress, delicate stockings, and a pair of heels that made every step feel deliberate. Her makeup adjustments were meticulous. "Remember," she said softly, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear, "your voice, your posture, your eyes, they tell the story before your words do. Speak as Clara would. Be her fully." Walking into the living room, I froze. The room was filled with people chatting, laughing, and drinking. Some looked at me curiously, others whispered behind hands. The sensation was electric, part fear, part exhilaration. Mrs. Caldwell placed her hand lightly on my back. "Relax. You're beautiful, and they'll see that. Let them notice. Let them admire." I took a deep breath and stepped forward. The heels clicked softly against the wooden floor. My voice quivered slightly, but as I greeted the guests, something shifted. A smile came naturally, a tilt of the head, a graceful gesture, and suddenly, I wasn't Ryan hiding. I was Clara, seen, acknowledged, and desired. A boy, a few years older than me, approached and smiled. "Hey, you look amazing." Heat rushed to my cheeks. Compliments had always felt awkward, but now, with Clara, it felt intoxicating. I stammered a soft "thank you," voice lilting and light. Every word, every gesture made me aware of how far I had come and how far I had changed. Mrs. Caldwell watched from across the room, her eyes sharp and assessing. Her approval, or perhaps just her observation, sent a shiver down my spine. As the evening progressed, I found myself navigating conversations, laughing nervously, adjusting my posture, and keeping my balance in heels. The boy kept talking to me, asking questions, teasing lightly, and I realized I was enjoying it. Enjoying being noticed. Enjoying being pretty. Then someone from my past, a classmate, walked in. Recognition flashed in their eyes, and I felt panic surge. My heart raced as I struggled to maintain Clara's composure. Could I hold my identity under the scrutiny? Could I hide Ryan entirely? Mrs. Caldwell stepped closer, her presence grounding me. "Remember, Clara," she whispered, "they only see what you let them see. Control your story, or someone else will tell it for you." By the end of the evening, I felt drained yet exhilarated. The blending of fear, embarrassment, and thrill had left me on the edge of something I didn't fully understand. Ryan was fading. Clara was rising. That night, alone in front of the mirror, I traced the outline of my face, my lips, my eyes. I whispered, trembling, "Am I really becoming her or losing myself?" Mrs. Caldwell's words echoed in my mind. "Soon, the world will decide who you are, Ryan or Clara. And by then, it may be too late to choose." Every lesson felt less like guidance and more like a rule I couldn't refuse. Clara was taking over, and I had no choice. The morning after the party, Mrs. Caldwell entered my room with a calm intensity that made my heart race. In her hands, she carried a small tray, a brush, new makeup, and a selection of dresses. "Clara performed well last night," she said, her eyes sharp. "But there's room for improvement. Today, we push further. Every action, every word, every glance will be trained." I nodded silently, dread and anticipation twisting in my stomach. The memory of the party, of being observed, complimented, and exposed, lingered. The thrill had been addictive but exhausting. The first hour was spent on makeup. She guided my hands, corrected my technique, and critiqued every stroke. The blush must be subtle, the eyeliner precise. Clara's face is her power, not just decoration. As she applied mascara to my lashes, I noticed how her touch lingered slightly longer than necessary. I shivered, caught between embarrassment and a strange thrill I didn't fully understand. Each correction reminded me how inadequate I was, but also how malleable. Next came posture and walking drills. Mrs. Caldwell made me pace across the room, heels clicking, skirts swaying, every gesture scrutinized. "Balance is everything," she said. "Every step must be deliberate. A stumble is a confession of weakness." I tried to keep steady, cheeks flushed, muscles aching. The skirts, the heels, the delicate gestures, they weren't just clothing anymore. They were shaping me. Then came voice lessons. I stammered, my natural tone cracking. "Soft, melodic." "Clara speaks differently," she corrected, tilting my chin up. "Your voice is part of your charm. If you lose it, you lose her, and you lose yourself." Each lesson became a command, each command a boundary I couldn't ignore. I felt my old identity slipping with every hour, every critique, every praise laced with expectation. By afternoon, she introduced lingerie and accessories. I trembled as I donned lace undergarments, tights, and a delicate camisole. Each item seemed to erase another layer of Ryan, revealing Clara's fragile yet confident essence beneath. She guided me through mirror exercises, posing, smiling, adjusting posture. "See yourself," she whispered. "See who you really are. Clara isn't just a name. She's power, beauty, and attention. Let her emerge fully." I stared at my reflection, a mixture of fear, embarrassment, and something intoxicating stirring in my chest. The boy I had been felt distant, almost unreal. The girl I was becoming, Clara, was vibrant, visible, undeniable. The final test of the day was simple yet terrifying. Leave the house in full Clara attire. We walked to a nearby cafe, each step a trial. The eyes of strangers, fleeting glances, whispered words, they all tested me. I stumbled, caught myself, adjusted my posture, and smiled softly. Each compliment or curious glance sent a rush of adrenaline and a twinge of shame through me. Mrs. Caldwell's approving gaze never wavered. "Good," she said. "You are learning. But remember, Clara must always be ready. Ryan is fading. She will soon take over entirely." That night, staring into the mirror, I traced my features, lips, and eyes.
Who am I now?
Ryan or Clara? And when Mrs. Caldwell returns tomorrow, will there even be a choice left? Every glance, every whisper, every stare reminded me there was no hiding anymore. Clara was becoming me, whether I wanted it or not. The following morning, I awoke with a tight knot in my stomach. School was waiting, and with it, the harsh reality of public exposure. Mrs. Caldwell's plan was precise. Clara would attend classes, navigate hallways, interact with peers, all while Ryan remained hidden beneath the carefully constructed exterior. Dressed in a fitted skirt, blouse, and perfectly styled hair, I barely recognized myself in the mirror. My face glowed under carefully applied makeup, lips soft yet defined, eyes framed with mascara that made them appear larger, more expressive. The reflection was intoxicating and terrifying. Mrs. Caldwell approached silently. "Remember, Clara, she whispered, adjusting a stray lock of hair. Every move you make tells a story. Your peers will judge, admire, and possibly envy. Embrace it or crumble under it. I nodded, heart hammering. Walking through the school doors felt surreal. Every pair of eyes seemed to linger on me longer than necessary. Some students whispered, exchanged glances, or stared openly. My cheeks burned with a mix of shame and excitement. A group of classmates I'd known for years froze, murmuring softly. My voice wavered as I greeted them, adopting the soft, melodic tone Mrs. Caldwell had drilled into me. Hi, good morning, I managed. They stared, curious and intrigued. The boy I used to be would have recoiled in embarrassment, but Clara stood taller, forced a confident smile, and continued walking. Every step in heels, every sway of my skirt, reinforced the fragile identity that was becoming dominant. In class, whispers persisted. Some students dared to ask questions, complimenting my hair, makeup, or outfit. I felt a surge of pride and a deeper pang of vulnerability. Mrs. Caldwell's words echoed. They will see Clara first. Ryan is fading. During lunch, I sat at a table near the windows, nervously tracing the edges of my skirt. A boy approached, curious, friendly, and slightly flirtatious. Hey, you look really nice today, he said, smiling. My face flushed crimson. Thank you, I stammered, voice soft but steady. Each interaction made me feel more exposed, yet oddly empowered. Clara wasn't just a disguise. She was a persona that demanded attention and respect. But not everything was easy. A few students whispered cruelly behind my back, questioning my authenticity, joking at my expense. The humiliation stung, but Mrs. Caldwell's presence loomed in my mind. Her approval, or the desire to earn it, kept me upright, moving, smiling. I caught myself glancing at mirrors in the hallway, studying my reflection. The delicate curves, painted lips, soft features. With each glance, Ryan's presence weakened, fading into the background of Clara's emerging identity. By the end of the day, I felt exhausted, exhilarated, and conflicted. Public exposure had tested me in ways the classroom never could. I had faced whispers, glances, compliments, and judgment, and survived. But the reflection in the mirror at home that evening reminded me of the truth. Ryan was losing his grip. Clara was rising. Mrs. Caldwell's words lingered in my mind. Tomorrow, we deepen the challenge. Social exposure isn't enough. You will perform, charm, and obey. Every step will be monitored. Every slip noted. Alone in my room that night, I stared into the mirror, fingers tracing the delicate outline of Clara's face. How much longer until Ryan disappears completely? And what will happen when the world sees Clara in all her glory, or humiliation? I never imagined a simple glance could make my heart pound so fast, but Clara was learning more than just how to walk and talk. It started subtly. A boy in my art class, someone I had barely noticed as Ryan, began giving me glances that lingered longer than necessary. His eyes followed me as I walked to my desk, and I could feel the heat rising in my cheeks. Mrs. Caldwell noticed. Do not mistake attention for weakness, she said, adjusting the hem of my skirt. Clara must learn to enjoy admiration, but never let it control her. Her words echoed in my mind as I sat at my desk, pretending to focus on the sketchbook in front of me. But my thoughts kept drifting to the boy. He smiled, leaning over to comment on my drawing. You're really talented, he whispered. The sound of his voice, soft yet confident, made something flutter in my chest. I realized with a jolt. I was feeling things I had never felt as Ryan. Clara was becoming more than a disguise. She was an identity capable of desire, curiosity, and attraction. Lunch was the real test. He joined me at the table, casual yet deliberate. Our conversation flowed, laughing at inside jokes, sharing small confessions. Each interaction, each brush of hands across the table, made my heart race. I caught myself biting my lip, eyes darting nervously. Is this me or Clara? I wondered. The boy's gaze seemed to see the person in front of him, but was it Ryan hidden beneath, or Clara fully revealed. Mrs. Caldwell's words from earlier in the week haunted me. Every compliment, every glance, is shaping her. Let it happen, or she will resist and break. That evening, she had me practice responding to flirtation, using a soft, playful tone, maintaining eye contact, and keeping posture confident. Clara must learn charm, she said, applying a touch of blush to my cheeks. Power is in subtlety. Attraction is a weapon. As I practiced, I felt a mix of embarrassment and exhilaration. The lines between Ryan and Clara blurred further. I realized I was no longer just performing femininity, I was inhabiting it. The tension escalated during a weekend art gallery visit. The boy from school was there, complimenting Clara's appearance in front of strangers, laughing, touching my arm lightly. Each gesture sent shivers of fear and excitement through me. Ryan would have panicked. Clara responded with poise. Mrs. Caldwell observed from a distance, her eyes sharp. "Do you see?" she whispered later. "Clara thrives under attention." Ryan would crumble. The more you accept her, the more powerful she becomes. By the end of the day, I felt a confusing swirl of emotions: desire, embarrassment, exhilaration, and guilt. Alone in my room that night, I stared into the mirror. Clara's eyes stared back, bold, curious, and aware of the romantic attention she was receiving. I touched my lips softly, whispering, "Who am I now? Ryan or Clara?" The question had no answer, only a growing awareness that the old self was fading. That night, a message appeared on my phone. "Can I see you tomorrow? Just us." My heart raced. Was it for Ryan or for Clara? And could I distinguish between the two anymore? One careless smile, one slip of the tongue, and the world seemed ready to tear Clara apart. The day began like any other, with Mrs. Caldwell meticulously preparing me in front of the mirror. My makeup flawless, hair perfectly curled, and outfit selected to command attention without being overt, she watched every detail with hawk-like precision. "Remember," she said, applying a final brush of blush to my cheeks, "the world will judge Clara mercilessly. Confidence is your shield, and poise is your sword." I nodded, though a pit of anxiety twisted in my stomach. The romantic tension with the boy from school lingered in my thoughts, making my heart race at every imagined glance and whisper. Arriving at school, I noticed whispers before I even entered the building. A small group of students snickered, their eyes following me as I walked down the hallway. My heels clicked against the tiles, amplifying my awareness of each judgmental gaze. One girl approached, smirking. "Nice outfit, Clara. Or is it Ryan trying to play dress up again?" My blood ran cold. Laughter erupted behind her, and I felt my stomach knot. Panic surged, a hot wave of humiliation threatening to undo everything Mrs. Caldwell had drilled into me. I stumbled slightly, catching myself on a locker. The room seemed to tilt, my reflection in the small window catching a fleeting glimpse of my trembling fingers. Clara, or what was left of Ryan, was exposed, fragile, and utterly human. The boy from school approached quickly, concern etched on his face. "Hey, are you okay?" I forced a smile, voice trembling. "I'm fine, really." But inside, shame and confusion gnawed at me. The teasing, the judgment, and the whispers created a storm of emotions. For the first time, I questioned whether this path, the transformation, and the public persona of Clara were worth the humiliation. Mrs. Caldwell's voice echoed in my memory. "Every challenge strengthens her. Every humiliation teaches resilience. Never hide, embrace the exposure." I tried to internalize her words as I navigated the rest of the day. Classes passed in a blur of whispered comments, curious stares, and subtle taunts. My body ached from maintaining posture and poise, my mind strained from suppressing Ryan's panic. During lunch, a group of girls approached, ostensibly friendly, but with sly smiles and probing questions. "So, Clara, do you always get this much attention?" Their tone was mocking, each word a calculated strike. I felt my confidence waver, cheeks burning, as I attempted to respond with charm and poise. Each compliment I gave or received felt like a tightrope walk, threatening to expose Ryan beneath the carefully curated Clara facade. By the end of the day, I was exhausted, emotionally drained, and unsure if I could face another moment of scrutiny. Alone in my room that evening, I collapsed in front of the mirror, tracing the contours of Clara's face. Am I really her? I whispered. Or am I just pretending to survive? The reflection stared back, impossibly real. The girl in the mirror was fragile yet beautiful, confident yet vulnerable, a duality I could no longer deny. A message appeared on my phone. Meet me after school. I know your secret. My breath caught. Who could have discovered me? Ryan or Clara? And what would they do with that knowledge? One message was all it took to remind me that my secret was never truly safe, and Clara's world teetered on the edge of chaos. The bell had barely rung when I found myself outside the empty classroom, heart hammering in my chest. The message on my phone, meet me after school. I know your secret, looped in my mind like a sinister echo. Every step toward the designated spot felt heavy, my heels clicking unevenly against the hallway floor, drawing more attention than I dared. Mrs. Caldwell's voice resonated in memory. Secrets are fragile, Clara. Every revelation is a test. Remember who you are now. I inhaled sharply, adjusting my skirt and straightening my posture, forcing myself into the confident persona she had painstakingly molded. But deep inside, Ryan's panic clawed at my chest, unrelenting. A figure emerged from the shadows. One of the boys from school, someone I hadn't expected to confront. His eyes narrowed, a mix of curiosity and mischief dancing in his gaze. So, Clara or Ryan? He asked, a teasing smile tugging at his lips. My throat went dry. I opened my mouth, hesitated, then forced a soft, melodic tone I had practiced endlessly. I'm Clara. He laughed lightly, but not cruelly. Interesting. You've been hiding quite the secret, haven't you? Every word felt like a dagger. I flushed crimson, fingers trembling slightly. My body felt exposed in ways that went beyond clothing or makeup. The secret that Ryan had tried to guard for so long was no longer mine alone. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. I won't tell anyone if you let me help you, but you have to trust me. Conflicting emotions surged, relief, fear, and a spark of excitement. Clara's persona, bold and curious, wanted to engage. Ryan's instinct screamed to flee. I hesitated, caught between the two selves. Mrs. Caldwell's lessons replayed in my mind. Trust is a tool. Manipulate it or be manipulated. Clara thrives under guidance. After school, the boy, whose name I learned was Ethan, guided me to a quiet corner near the library. He asked questions about my makeup, my clothes, my walk, even my voice. Each inquiry felt invasive, yet oddly validating. Clara craved acknowledgement. Ryan craved anonymity. I can teach you to control it better, Ethan said, so no one ever finds out again. I felt a shiver run through me, a blend of embarrassment and relief. The offer was tempting, but I sensed layers of manipulation beneath his kindness. Could I trust him? Or was he testing me, just as Mrs. Caldwell had trained me to be tested? Returning home, I found Mrs. Caldwell waiting, calm and composed. She had sensed the encounter, no doubt, and her gaze pierced me like an arrow. Clara, she said softly, exposure is inevitable.
You've learned that.
Now it's time to deepen control. The world will test you, tease you, and tempt you. But remember who holds power.
Me.
Her words, equal parts comfort and warning, resonated deep within me. Clara stood taller, poised and beautiful. Ryan trembled, hidden in the shadows of my psyche. That night, I stared into the mirror for hours, tracing the soft contours of my cheeks, lips, and eyes. Ethan's teasing smile, the whispers at school, the endless scrutiny, they had changed me. I was no longer merely hiding. I was performing, existing, and perhaps becoming. A soft knock at the door startled me. A note slipped beneath it read, "Tomorrow, the real test begins. Be ready." Everything I had learned, Every ounce of courage and control was about to be tested in front of a crowd, and I wasn't sure if Clara could survive it. The next morning, I awoke to a mixture of excitement and dread. The note from the previous night was still on my desk, the words sharp and commanding. The real test begins today. Be ready. Mrs. Caldwell had already prepared the room. Clothes, shoes, and accessories neatly laid out, each item chosen to heighten the performance. A new dress, slightly more daring than usual, sat on the chair. A pair of heels with unfamiliar straps rested beside it, promising both elegance and challenge. Clara, Mrs. Caldwell said, her voice both gentle and commanding, today you will face the world fully. Every glance, every word, every step will shape who you are. I swallowed hard, nodding. Ryan's panic simmered beneath my skin, but Clara's persona, confident and poised, was ready to step forward. The journey to the city's central square was tense. My reflection in every passing window reminded me, the girl in the mirror was no longer a disguise. Every step in heels, every sway of my hips, reinforced Clara's identity. Hold your head high, Mrs. Caldwell instructed. Make them see you, respect you, fear you if necessary. The crowd was already gathered. A local festival had attracted dozens of spectators, their eyes curious and hungry for entertainment. I could feel their gaze prickling my skin, 1,000 tiny judgments weighing down on me. The performance began. I walked onto the stage, heels clicking with a rhythm that echoed through the square. My hands trembled slightly, but I forced my posture upright, chin high, eyes forward. Clara's voice, soft yet commanding, addressed the crowd. Good afternoon. My name is Clara. I'm here to show you grace, confidence, and beauty. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Some were admiring, some skeptical, others openly mocking. Every step was a test. Every gesture, a calculation. I could feel Ryan shrinking with each teasing laugh, each pointed comment, but Clara embraced it, channeling vulnerability into performance. Halfway through, an unexpected challenge arose. A group of boys recognized Ryan, my old self, shouting and pointing. The audience tensed, sensing drama. My stomach dropped. Humiliation threatened to break me. Mrs. Caldwell's voice, calm and steady, pierced through the chaos. Do not falter. Clara is stronger than Ryan. Show them who you are. I took a deep breath, ignoring the jeers. My steps became more deliberate, my gestures fluid, my smile radiant. The crowd's energy shifted, some jeers turning into applause, curiosity into admiration. The final part of the performance was a walk among the crowd, shaking hands, accepting compliments, and even flirting lightly. The boy from school, Ethan, watched from the side, his approving gaze boosting Clara's confidence further. By the end of the day, I was exhausted, emotionally raw, yet exhilarated. The duality of Ryan and Clara had blurred completely. For the first time, I felt a sense of power and belonging, even under scrutiny and judgment. That night, alone in my room, I stared into the mirror. Clara's reflection smiled back. Bold, confident, undeniably beautiful. Ryan's presence lingered faintly, a shadow fading into memory. A soft knock at the door broke my reverie. Mrs. Caldwell's voice called from the other side. Tomorrow, you will meet someone who will challenge Clara in ways you cannot yet imagine. Just when I thought I knew who I was, he appeared, and everything I felt became dangerously complicated. The next morning, anticipation and dread churned in my stomach. Mrs. Caldwell's cryptic warning from the night before echoed in my ears. Someone will challenge Clara in ways she cannot yet imagine. By mid-afternoon, a visitor arrived. He was tall, confident, with kind eyes and an easy smile that made my heart skip. Hi, I'm Liam, he said, extending a hand toward Clara. My fingers brushed his, and warmth surged through me in a way I hadn't expected. Mrs. Caldwell stood behind me, arms crossed, a subtle smirk on her face. Clara, this is a test of emotional control, she said softly. Observe, react, and maintain composure. I nodded, aware that every glance, every word, and every blush would be scrutinized. Clara's confident facade had to remain intact, but Ryan's hidden desires whispered through every tremor and stutter. Liam engaged me in conversation, asking questions about my hobbies, my life, my favorite spots in the city. I answered carefully, each sentence a performance layered with hesitation. "Clara, you're different," he said, tilting his head slightly. "There's something special about you." My face flushed at the compliment, a dangerous mixture of pride and fear swirling inside me. The world had never praised Ryan this way. Clara basked in it, but Ryan recoiled, wary of attachment and exposure. Mrs. Caldwell watched quietly, her expression unreadable. "Feel it, Clara. Desire, attraction, hesitation, they are tools. Use them wisely." The afternoon progressed, and Liam's subtle flirtation became more direct. His hand brushed mine occasionally, lingering longer than expected. My pulse raced. Ryan panicked, unsure of boundaries. Clara, however, felt a thrill she had never known before, the intoxicating power of attention, validation, and romantic possibility. By the evening, we found ourselves in a quiet corner of the garden, the city lights twinkling behind us. Liam's voice softened. "Clara or Ryan, it doesn't matter to me. I like who you are." Time seemed to freeze. My reflection in his eyes, a mixture of feminine grace and hidden vulnerability, made my heart ache. I wanted to retreat, to return to Ryan's safety. Yet a new part of me, Clara, wanted to embrace the closeness, the attention, the thrill. Mrs. Caldwell's presence lingered subtly, a silent reminder that she orchestrated these encounters. Her lessons about control, submission, and performance were ingrained, and now love and desire became tools in Clara's complex existence. I felt a wave of confusion, arousal, embarrassment, and exhilaration all at once. The lines between Ryan and Clara blurred completely, and the duality within me became a delicate dance I could no longer control entirely. That night, alone in my room, I stared into the mirror, tracing the soft contours of my cheeks, lips, and eyes. Liam's gaze haunted me. Clara wanted him, craved his approval and attention. Ryan wanted escape, simplicity, and the life he once knew. A message appeared on my phone and signed, "Tomorrow, everything changes. Are you ready to become fully Clara?" The line between Ryan and Clara was gone. Today, the world would see only her, and I had no choice but to surrender completely. Morning light streamed through my curtains, but it offered no comfort. The message from last night, stark and foreboding, replayed in my mind. "Tomorrow, everything changes. Are you ready to become fully Clara?" Mrs. Caldwell's instructions were already waiting for me. A new wardrobe, more feminine than anything before, shimmered in soft pastels. High heels, delicate lingerie, and perfectly coordinated accessories were laid out with meticulous care. Every item was chosen to erase Ryan and solidify Clara. "Clara," Mrs. Caldwell said, her eyes piercing, "today, you leave behind the last traces of Ryan. Every step, every word, every glance must belong to her. No hesitation, no doubt." I swallowed hard, feeling Ryan's panic clawing at me. My reflection in the mirror stared back, soft cheeks, wide eyes, delicate lips. Clara's face already there, but my soul still tethered to Ryan's fear. The day began with a series of exercises, walking in heels across uneven terrain, practicing gestures, modulating my voice, and mastering eye contact. Each moment was excruciating. Each mistake left me vulnerable. Yet, each correction, each whispered encouragement or sharp critique from Mrs. Caldwell reinforced Clara's dominance. By midday, the final task awaited, a public appearance at a high-end cafe where friends, acquaintances, and strangers would see me as Clara for the first time in a fully feminine persona. Stepping outside, the world seemed larger, louder, and more intimidating than ever. Heads turned. Whispers traveled through the air. My heart pounded like a drum, heels clicking against the pavement. Clara's posture remained perfect, her smile radiant, but Ryan's terror throbbed behind every movement. Liam waited at a nearby table, eyes lighting up as I approached. "You look incredible," he said softly. His approval sent shivers down my spine, and for a fleeting moment, Ryan faded entirely. Clara smiled, basking in the validation. Inside the cafe, I navigated social interactions with grace, my gestures and words measured. Compliments and stares came from all directions. Some admired, some were skeptical, some openly gossiped. Each reaction was a test, a push toward full acceptance of Clara's identity. A friend from Ryan's past recognized me, hesitated, then whispered something to another patron. My heart skipped. Panic flared, but Mrs. Caldwell's quiet presence reminded me. Clara thrives under observation. Ryan collapses under scrutiny. I forced a confident laugh, corrected my posture, and responded with charm. The friend's curiosity turned to intrigue. Clara had emerged fully. By evening, alone with Mrs. Caldwell, the weight of the day sank in. Every look, every gesture, every interaction had cemented Clara's existence. Ryan's resistance had weakened, becoming a quiet echo. "Do you feel it?" Mrs. Caldwell asked softly. "The old self is fading. Embrace it, or it will haunt you forever." I looked into the mirror, tracing the delicate curves of my reflection. I wanted to retreat, to return to Ryan's simplicity, yet a deep thrill pulsed through me. Clara was powerful, beautiful, and desired. The fear, the embarrassment, the control, they were all gone, replaced with acceptance and an intoxicating confidence. A knock at the door revealed Liam holding a small bouquet. I wanted to see Clara truly. "Are you ready to take the next step?" For the first time, my heart wanted something more than approval. It wanted him, and that desire made everything more dangerous. Clara's heels clicked softly against the wooden floor as Liam stepped closer, bouquet in hand. The sunlight from the window caught the pastel colors of my dress, illuminating the contrast between vulnerability and confidence that now defined me. "I've never seen you like this," Liam whispered, his eyes tracing every detail of my appearance, lingering on the delicate curve of my lips, the soft sweep of my hair, the gentle tilt of my shoulders. "You're stunning." Ryan, hidden beneath Clara's growing confidence, flinched. This was new territory, feelings I had never allowed myself to explore. Clara's body felt different, more alive, more sensitive. Her heart raced not just from fear, but from desire. Mrs. Caldwell's voice cut through the tension, calm but firm. "This is more than attraction, Clara. Emotions will test your control. Every blush, every flutter, every hesitation must be managed. Let desire strengthen you, not weaken you." Clara nodded, though Ryan's panic threatened to surface. She could feel the weight of his resistance in every breath, every shiver that ran through her body. The duality was more intense than ever, heart wanting Liam, mind remembering Ryan's caution. The next hour was a delicate dance of proximity. Liam reached for my hand, lightly, almost shyly. My pulse spiked, a mixture of fear and exhilaration. The sensation of his touch ignited a thrill I couldn't deny. Clara leaned into it, embracing the pleasure, while Ryan's inner voice whispered warnings. "You feel this, don't you?" Liam asked softly, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear. "Yes," Clara admitted, voice barely above a whisper. Ryan flinched internally, but couldn't stop her words. I feel everything." Later, Mrs. Caldwell guided me through a reflection exercise, standing in front of a full-length mirror. Clara's image smiled back, radiant and confident. Ryan's faint silhouette lingered, a shadow of hesitation and fear. "Love and identity are intertwined," Mrs. Caldwell explained. "If you cannot reconcile desire with who you are, both will destroy you." I touched my reflection, feeling the truth of her words. My desire for Liam was real, but so was the fear of losing Ryan entirely. Every emotion amplified the intensity of my transformation, blurring the lines between past and present, fear and excitement. Evening came, and Liam lingered, unwilling to leave. We talked quietly, shared small gestures, and for the first time, I allowed myself to imagine a life as Clara, accepted, desired, confident. Yet Ryan's voice remained in the back of my mind, asking if I would regret it, if this surrender was irreversible. By nightfall, I was exhausted emotionally and physically. Clara sat before the mirror, brushing her hair slowly, savoring the sensation of her long, silky strands slipping through her fingers. Ryan's presence had faded almost completely, leaving Clara dominant, aware, and fully immersed in her feminine identity. A text message lit up my phone. Tomorrow, the world will challenge Clara in ways no one has yet dared. Are you ready for the ultimate test? Everything I had become, every lesson and every fear would be tested today, and the world would be the judge. Morning arrived, heavy with anticipation. The message from last night burned in my mind. Tomorrow, the world will challenge Clara in ways no one has yet dared. Are you ready for the ultimate test? Mrs. Caldwell had prepared a full ensemble, a sparkling cocktail dress, stilettos that made my calves ache just by looking at them, and accessories that demanded attention. Every detail was meant to announce Clara's presence, to erase any trace of Ryan. Clara, Mrs. Caldwell said softly but firmly, today you will face scrutiny, admiration, and judgment. You will perform, you will interact, and you will survive. This is your final initiation. I swallowed hard, feeling a mixture of dread and excitement. Ryan's fear flickered faintly, but Clara's confidence surged. She was ready, or at least she had to be. The venue was a high-profile charity gala, a glittering ballroom filled with influential guests. The mirrors reflected chandeliers, sparkling dresses, and curious glances that immediately fixed on me as I entered. Every step in heels echoed loudly, a declaration of presence. Remember, Clara, Mrs. Caldwell whispered, they will see you, judge you, test you. Show them who you are without hesitation. Clara nodded, posture perfect, smile radiant. The whispers began almost instantly. Admiration, surprise, and a touch of scandal. Some guests exchanged glances, clearly taken aback by her beauty and poise. As the night progressed, I navigated social interactions with grace and precision. Ryan's internal panic threatened occasionally, especially when someone from my past recognized me, but Clara's charm deflected suspicion. Compliments flowed, flirtations emerged, and attention became intoxicating. Liam appeared amidst the crowd, his eyes lighting up with pride and desire. His presence anchored Clara, giving her courage and confidence. Every touch, every approving look, reinforced the persona I had built meticulously over weeks. Mrs. Caldwell watched quietly from the side, her expression unreadable. She let Clara navigate the gala, stepping in only when subtle guidance was needed. Each challenge, every raised eyebrow, every whispered comment, every envious gaze, was a test of control, composure, and feminine mastery. By the gala's end, Clara had survived scrutiny, gained admiration, and solidified her place as a confident, desirable, and fully feminine figure. Ryan's voice had almost completely faded, leaving Clara dominant, aware, and fully immersed in her identity. Returning home, I stared into the mirror, taking in the soft contours, the perfectly applied makeup, and the elegant posture that Clara had mastered. Every step, every glance, every breath reflected her strength. Do you feel it?
Mrs. Caldwell asked. The old self is gone.
You are fully Clara now. I touched my reflection, acknowledging the truth. The journey had been painful, humiliating, exhilarating, and transformative. Ryan's resistance was a whisper, Clara's presence undeniable. A sudden notification flashed on my phone. Someone knows your secret. Prepare for a reckoning. Life after everything didn't return to normal, because there was no normal anymore. My old life as a guy felt like a faded photograph, tucked away in a drawer I never opened. What I had now was new, complicated, terrifying at times, but also strangely beautiful. I had learned how to walk gracefully in heels, how to blend eyeshadow until it looked effortless, how to smile without it feeling like a mask. I wasn't just pretending anymore, I was living. One night, as I stood in front of the mirror, dressed in a satin slip, I whispered to my reflection, "Who are you really?" The girl in the mirror didn't flinch. She didn't look like a disguise. She looked like me. The memories of humiliation, manipulation, and forced change still haunted me, but they weren't the whole story anymore. Somewhere along the way, in the laughter, in the stolen glances of admiration, in the quiet confidence I never had before, I had found a version of myself I never knew existed. And maybe, just maybe, this was who I was meant to be all along. As I stepped away from the mirror and turned off the light, I knew one thing for certain. There was no going back. The weeks turned into months, and my life as Sophie had become the only life I knew. What started as desperation for a job had blossomed into something I never could have imagined, a strange mixture of servitude, self-discovery, and unexpected freedom. At first, I thought the heels and frilly made uniform were just humiliations, punishments for my mistakes. But slowly, I realized that each stitch of lace, each swipe of lipstick, and each graceful step taught me something about myself. About how much strength there was in vulnerability. Madame Victoria eventually offered me a choice. "Stay as my maid," she said, looking at me with an intensity that made my knees weak. "Or take what you've learned here and start anew on your own." The words shook me. I had dreamed of freedom every night, yet the idea of leaving this strange new world made my chest ache. The heels no longer felt like shackles, they felt like wings. The reflection in the mirror wasn't just a disguise anymore, it was me. With trembling lips, I whispered, "I want to stay." Her smirk softened into the faintest smile. "Then you are mine, Sophie. Not as a servant, but as my creation. My companion." The mansion, once a place of fear, became my home. The uniforms changed, sometimes still elegant maid dresses, but often flowing gowns, sleek dresses, even casual chic outfits she carefully picked for me. Every day I served, but every night I lived.
Danced. Laughed.
Discovered myself in ways I never could have as the man I used to be. And deep down, I knew the truth. I hadn't just needed a job. I had needed this. The heels that once dragged me down had lifted me higher than I ever thought I could go. And though the world outside still thought of me as someone else, here in Madame Victoria's world, I was exactly who I was meant to be. The weeks turned into months, and my life as Sophie had become the only life I knew. What started as desperation for a job had blossomed into something I never could have imagined, a strange mixture of servitude, self-discovery, and unexpected freedom. At first, I thought the heels and frilly maid uniform were just humiliations, punishments for my mistakes. But slowly, I realized that each stitch of lace, each swipe of lipstick, and each graceful step taught me something about myself. About how much strength there was in vulnerability. Madame Victoria eventually offered me a choice. "Stay as my maid," she said, looking at me with an intensity that made my knees weak. "Or take what you've learned here and start anew on your own." The words shook me. I had dreamed of freedom every night, yet the idea of leaving this strange new world made my chest ache. The heels no longer felt like shackles, they felt like wings. The reflection in the mirror wasn't just a disguise anymore, it was me. With trembling lips, I whispered, "I want to stay." Her smirk softened into the faintest smile. "Then you are mine, Sophie. Not as a servant, but as my creation. My companion." The mansion, once a place of fear, became my home. The uniforms changed, sometimes still elegant maid dresses, but often flowing gowns, sleek dresses, even casual chic outfits she carefully picked for me. Every day I served, but every night I lived.
Danced. Laughed.
Discovered myself in ways I never could have as the man I used to be. And deep down, I knew the truth. I hadn't just needed a job. I had needed this. The heels that once dragged me down had lifted me higher than I ever thought I could go. And though the world outside still thought of me as someone else, here in Madame Victoria's world, I was exactly who I was meant to be. Weeks turned into months, and what had once felt like a humiliating curse became the story of my life. I no longer thought of myself as someone pretending. The dresses in my closet weren't costumes anymore. They were mine. The makeup on my vanity wasn't a mask, but a ritual I cherished. The heels I once wobbled in now clicked confidently against the floor, announcing me wherever I went. I had become the maid in heels. The strangest part was how natural it felt. At first, I thought I would count the days until I could return to being my old self. But slowly, I realized there was no old self to go back to. That version of me was gone. Or maybe he had never truly existed. This was me. And as terrifying as it was to admit, it was also freeing. Every scar of humiliation, every cruel laugh, every tear of frustration, it had all carved me into this new shape. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was living. And though the world still whispered, mocked, or judged, I carried myself with a quiet defiance.
I needed a job.
But what I found was myself. And she, heels, skirts, makeup, and all was here to stay. Months later, I sat at the vanity in the apartment, our apartment now, brushing my long hair while the morning sun painted the room in soft gold. The mirror no longer showed a stranger. It showed me, refined, delicate, poised. A woman who had once fought against her reflection, but now found comfort in it. My life wasn't the one I had imagined before this all began. Back then, I was desperate for a paycheck. Now, I had an entirely new identity, a new life carved out of survival, deception, and eventually, choice. I looked at the heels placed neatly by the door. Once instruments of torment, they had become extensions of me. Slipping into them didn't feel like punishment anymore. It felt like stepping into the life I had grown into. For a moment, I thought back to the man I once was. He felt distant, like a shadow fading behind me. The maid in heels, the girl in skirts, the assistant, the companion, that was me now. And strangely, I wasn't afraid anymore. Because I had learned something in this twisted journey. Sometimes, the hardest transformations are the ones that set us free. I smiled at my reflection. And when the doorbell rang, I rose gracefully, heels clicking across the floor, ready to answer not just the door, but whatever future awaited me. And so my life found its strange balance. I was still Daniel, the boy who had once been desperate for a job. But I was also Danielle, the maid in heels who had faced humiliation, manipulation, and an identity she never asked for, yet had grown strong enough to survive it. My heels no longer felt like chains. They were reminders of everything I had endured and everything I had become. I wasn't weak anymore. I wasn't just someone's toy or secret. I had my own voice, my own will, and my own story. And maybe, just maybe, I had found a strange kind of freedom in the very cage that had once trapped me. Because in the end, life had forced me into skirts and heels. But I had chosen what to do with them. And that choice, that strength, was mine alone.